I think obviously this year the league is very good. When you sit there and say there's 4 teams that are legitimately in the discussion for NCAA tournament. When I was here the first time, it was always 3. It was always 3 to 4 of 8. So now it's 4 of 11, and I'd say right now it seems to me this is one of the strongest years the Mountain West has had, say over the last 5 or 6, and that's just the way it is. And right now, the league is a very good shooting league. I don't know if it's the best 3-point percentage-wise league or the highest percentage of points for the teams in the league come from threes. It's one of those two. So I mean, it's presenting, and as I say that, there's still size in the league. So right now, the challenge seems to be there's good shooting with size. I don't know if there's the same amount of size as there used to be, but then there still is size with that shooting, and before there might have been more size with not as much shooting. So, it's just it's a good league, and in our first year with what we're trying to do, obviously the shooting of the other teams in the league is something we're constantly saying, okay, what can we do? What do we have to do to get better? What can we do differently to help us get better? As to your point, this is our first year, and as you look down the road, as you keep saying, how are we going to get to that point? That's a big part of it right now. It is just addressing, that seems to be the way the league is currently at this juncture, and that can only help us going forward, because if we can figure that out, that's got to be a staple for us anyhow. And right now, it's very challenging right now, at this juncture.
In terms of recruiting to try to build to what you want to build, how has, especially the virus and not being able to see people in person and kind of pitch Air Force like that, how has that set you back, or do you think it's kind of a same as normal?
I mean, I don't think it set us back. I think it's same as normal, and in some respects, I'm actually hopeful that somehow it's beneficial to us, because not as many people, nobody's able to see anybody, and it's unfortunate for the kids. It's unfortunate for the high school seniors right now. And, like I made a comment the other day, I'm just happy my son's a junior, and even there, the junior class is going to be affected because there's going to be a trickle down over the next 2-3 years. But I just think there's going to be a lot of high school seniors that are out there when you factor in all the different things that are going on with the NCAA in terms of transfers and eligible, whatever they are. I know that we're recruiting. I think we've done pretty well so far. And I'm looking forward here as you get down to the end. What's that going to look like for us in terms of the ultimate class? But I think it's similar, and then I'm hopeful it can be helpful to us. But I know right now, my staff, that's huge for us, is recruit. We have to, do that as we right now on the court, do things in practice like we've been doing to change sort of things that we need to change to get better at certain things. And we got to make sure it's those two things that together, at all times.
And then I'll keep going until someone else jumps in. But in terms of recruiting, is there a bit of an advantage because other teams will have everybody back? They don't lose anything eligibility wise, whereas you will. So you have spots created, whereas other teams don't. Do recruits catch on to that?
Well, I think they know that, and I don't know if we know exactly how that's going to play out. You can say everybody has their eligibility left, but then, those coaches and those programs are like, yeah, but I don't want you to have that eligibility left. I mean, so however that's going to play out is unknown. What I know is there's going to be a lot more bodies for less scholarship opportunities across the country. For us, we're going to keep recruiting the way we recruit. We got to do a really good job with it. And like I said, I think that's where I'm hopeful maybe there's a little bit of a benefit to us that, hey, we're recruiting you. You can play in the Mountain West. No, we do want you. This is a unbelievable academic and institution, and we're in the Mountain West, and we can say we want you, as there's a lot of hemming and hawing going on from some other schools because they're trying to figure out the same, the answer to the question you're asking me, themselves. So, but we're on that. It's a big part of what we're doing, and hopefully it'll I know it's going to turn out well. I'm hopeful it turns out. Can it be a little better?
And then any update on Abe Kinraid or any other injuries that have popped up?
I mean, Abe's out there. He's been going, no contact. He's getting there. Not certain. I'm hopeful. It's all going to be how he feels. He's out there doing things, full contact. I don't know. But I'm hopeful to get him back here soon, and because obviously it's going to help. So, but he's progressing. I know that.
So, is there any structural damage?
He just has, there's some swelling in there, and maybe some that obviously means bleeding, and they're just trying to make sure that's all out. And I just think it's for him. How does he feel cutting and moving? But they've sort of said structurally, we feel that it's okay. It's just his sort of confidence level.
First order of business is there is a rumor out of Albuquerque that New Mexico's canceling the rest of their season. Have you heard anything on that? I know they're on your schedule at the end of the month.
I've heard, just what's been out there, so that their games with San Diego State are postponed. I've just read whatever those reasons are or potential reasons are. And, I know like everybody knows, they've had a rough go of it. I mean, just not being at home, being in Lubbock, can't go home. They can go home now to practice, but they can't go home to play, so they've had a lot going on, and, I don't know any more details than that, except we're involved because we haven't played them yet.
Okay, no worries. If you do, let us know, which I think you will, and you're not going to keep that from us. Beside the point, though. The other question I have for you is this, and we kind of alluded to it past couple weeks. What's going on with your seniors, with Chris and Keaton? I feel like they've been really inconsistent of late, maybe, and it's surprising because those guys have played meaningful minutes prior to you arriving at Air Force. Is there something that they're just having a hard time gripping with your new system? Is it, what do you think's kind of made them have this slow development midway through the year?
Well, I think it's been a big adjustment for them, just in terms of, I think, the differences of how different it is from, say, this year to past years. And at times I think the adjustment's been good for them, and then you run into times where maybe you're seeing the adjustments a little, that it's a little bit more difficult for them, So I think from the beginning of the year, I know I said this to them, and I've said it to them again recently, and, my point was they were going to be relied upon way more heavily this year as their seniors going into different roles, and their ability to sort of handle that much higher responsibility load was going to be a big part of our season. And you just don't know when someone steps up into a larger role, when there's been also these changes that we all know that occurred. You just don't know how they're really gonna take to it, and really what it means is it's going to be a process. And I know I've said to them that asking them to do in 1 year what I'm asking them to do is extremely difficult. And I got to be honest with you, I told them the other day, I don't think you can do it in 1 year. I wish I could have coached these guys. I wish I'd have recruited them and coached them for 4 years. I wished it was like what I had with Tommy Belair's when I was here the first time, that he was a sophomore and I could coach him for 3 years. Because then you can see the growth in the area of that accepting of that, knowing what that actually is, what that means for you every day, and sort of your approach, and ultimately what it means every day in terms of your consistent performance, And I think that's all it's really going through, and we're witnessing in 1 year, And it's a hard thing for those guys, and they've done a good job. And we still have, I mean, I don't know how many games we have left now because of your last question, but, we still have 8 to 10 games. And I just said to Chris yesterday, I know what I'm asking you to do is hard. I don't know if it can be done in one year, but I know you can get better at it. And you still got 10 more games to get better at it, and sort of relish that opportunity and know that if he does get better at it, that he played a key role in sort of, laying, certain groundwork that needs to be laid. And same goes for Keaton, obviously. Mika never really played that much, I don't believe. So he's a little different. And I think you see a little bit in that with him, because you're seeing him sort of grow in his role, grow in his play a little and grow in his role. But that could be because, the level of that expectation or responsibility wasn't the same because he hadn't played as many minutes. So, but I know for me personally, and I've told these guys, hey, every day is a new day. Every day is a day to go forward and look forward. And every day is a day just to use, what happened in the past, what happened as a way for you to use it to get better going forward, and that's what we're working really hard to do.
Last one for you is UNLV this week on the road. What do the Rebels bring? And have you seen an intensity in practice to try to get off this 5-game losing streak?
Yeah, I actually have seen, to your second point, we've had 2 really good practices. To use that word, that's a word I've used with them. Intensity and a little fire in the belly. And I've seen that. And then we're going to need it because, I think these guys that they say what Brent asked, they show about what Brent asked. They have some size, but they're really, really a perimeter team that's very heavily they rely heavily on the 3. I don't think they're dependent upon it, but they rely heavily on the 3, as they do have size in number 34, who's a good rebounder and, big. So these guys are going to present that challenge of, sort of what seems like the Mountain West is these days, a little bit of some size, but a lot of reliance on the 3-point shot.
Coach, I'm just to change gears and look across the aisle. It's National Girls and Women's in Sports Day, and you obviously work alongside the women's team each and every day. You see their hard work. What does it mean to you that day as a fellow Falcon coach?
Well, I think the most it means to me is, to see the progress in the women's side of athletics in general. To have that and to promote that. My wife played college basketball at Princeton in 1989. To 92, and she was a really good player. And to just see, and I know she says this, just to see how far, women's athletics has come, the opportunities that they have, the equality, the striving for the equality is great. And, it'd be nice if this was a normal time, because I think right now there might be a game going on out there and they'd have all all the schools around, all the local kids would be there, and it's a big thing. And I think that's another thing that it means to me, is that it's always about that next generation of that, like 14-year-old girl or that 12-year-old girl, and she's seeing, a young woman play and compete at a high level. And I think there's been a lot of progress, and I know there can still be more progress, but that's really what it means to me, and to know that Chris is working unbelievably hard and has the same challenge we have, and she's working her tail off with her staff and her players to get to be the best they can be. So I root for them all the time because of that.
I saw some comments from Leon Rice at Boise about potentially trimming the Mountain West tournament, the number of teams in the tournament. Is that a discussion that's happening at the conference level, or was he maybe just responding to a question?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that from our league. I know that that's out there for other leagues. That's like a conversation topic in general. But I did see yesterday where, I know the ACC and the Big East have come out and said we're running our tournaments just like we would in any other year. So, obviously I would like to think that we've done a pretty good job as a conference, I think, overall. If you look at the number of games, we've done really well, I think, conference-wise, and being able to play those games. And if you can do that, then I think that means you go play your tournament the way you say you're going to play your tournament. But I haven't heard anything, here specifically in terms of our league, but I do know they're talking about that across the country about other leagues.
Would you fight that if that were
Yeah,
presented?
yeah. I mean, I think in this year especially, it's almost like the opposite. I might, in a normal year, when it's normal and you're competing and you're recruiting the same way or whatever, I'd be like, well, if you want to talk about, then not inviting certain teams, whatever, okay. But in this year, with what we've had to do to play, and everybody, that's all everybody's talked about the whole year, is play the games. And now at this juncture, you're going to say to a team, you can't play in your conference tournament. To me, that just, that goes against what everybody said all year, I think, up until this point. So obviously I would be wholly against it in this year.